Well, as South Carolina remembers Senator Graham, many are reflecting on his long-standing commitment to the men and women who serve our country. Fox Carolina's Christina Feliciano joins us with a look at the relationships he built with veterans across the upstate.
Whether it was standing beside a World War II hero, helping dedicate a memorial to a fallen soldier, or advocating for mental health resources, those who knew Senator Lindsey Graham say supporting veterans was never just part of the job, it was personal. Senator Graham's connection to the military began long before his years in Washington. He served as a lawyer in the U.S. Air Force, later continuing his service in the Air National Guard and Air Force Reserve, eventually retiring as a colonel. That background shaped much of his time in public office. Over the years, Graham was a familiar face at veteran ceremonies across the upstate, honoring service members from every generation. In 2021, just before Veterans Day, he visited Rolling Green Village in Greenville, thanking those who served and reminding them their sacrifices had not been forgotten.
The veteran deserves our care when they get out. Let's focus on being good citizens here and making sure the veterans have what they need in terms of their health, a place to live. And I will just end with this thought that the American veteran has done more good for the world than any single group in the history of the world.
His support went beyond words.
Until I'm in the military, because I do it this way. Okay. Yeah.
During the 2025 government shutdown, Graham donated his entire Senate paycheck to Upstate Warrior Solution, helping fund mental health services for local veterans and their families. And whether he was honoring a 103-year-old World War II veteran in Greenville, dedicating a memorial to fallen Army Captain Kimberly Hampton in Easley, or pushing for resources on Capitol Hill, many across the upstate say his commitment to those who wore the uniform never wavered. Senator Graham spent decades advocating for military members, veterans, and their families, a legacy many across South Carolina say will continue to be remembered. In the studio, Christina Feliciano, Fox Carolina News.